Hey, over on Sage Spot, we're going to have a case study for a real legitimate powerlifter. I talked a little bit about it from at the DNS Exercise 2 course in Portland. I wound up spending some time with one of Chris Duffin's guys there. And here's a little prelude. We're going to go through the evaluation in another post. But the concept that I think is very, very important, and it might maybe it gives some answers, because when you look at the barbell squat, and you can say whatever, I'm not against it. I completely understand the perspective of others who are, and I even don't really think they're really against it. I think they're against dogma and they're against inefficiency, which I side more with in that regard. That being said, the barbell squat is the essence of symmetry. You have your hands typically in the same spots on the bar. Everything is sagittal. Most people are going to have your feet in the same distance away, probably very similar degrees of toes out, if that's how you squat. You're wearing, you're allowed to shift side to side, but you're wearing shoes or no shoes that again would allow for vertical motion, sagittal joint motion. If you show up to that dance without elite levels of symmetry, that might explain why durability of using that exercise with extremely high loads can become problematic. Because when we look at what we found with this individual, extremely asymmetrical in multiple locations. Shoulders, hips, all four uniquely unto themselves degrees of compromise. But when you watch them squat and you watch them get under the bar in a monolift, people were like, he looks pretty good, myself included. I said, what's the problem here? Well, when you try to intervene, when you don't really see a problem, you don't really understand what this movement really is and the unique demands of squatting 1,000 pounds, but you don't even evaluate. And I'm like, well, why don't we just go to the other room and look at this? And we did, and we found lots of things that, again, we'll whiteboard and we'll put up over on Sage Spot, and we'll talk about, demonstrate simply. You want to see the exercises, a couple that we choose to demonstrate, and then we'll do that. And but most importantly, when we look at movements that are now not only symmetrical but highly closed chain, where now your hands and shoulders are locked into the bar, your feet are locked into the ground, your spine is significantly compressed by big wheels. Again, something has to give if you're showing up to that dance with two shoulders that are dramatically different in their ability to rotate. They're dramatically different in the hips' ability to rotate. So I think that's very, very important. So we're gonna address rotation issues. You can apply them to all sorts of factors, because how we begin the evaluation after we know where we're going, start at the finish, we would do that relatively the same way for everybody. And if we felt that the limitations that we found for a powerlifter were also going to be the solutions for someone who wasn't a powerlifter, the exercises are going to have value. And this is really the perspective here. I think where we're going to go is we'll talk about the evaluation. We'll talk about some exercises, and then we'll talk about how I recommended we begin his training for where probably a year from now he wants to be able to squat a grand. So I hope that puts into perspective something very interesting of why you need to evaluate before it's too late. Because if he's been training this way for a very long period of time in these highly sagittal, you can argue, well, shouldn't be doing sagittal, we should be doing other. Dude, that's what powerlifting is. And if you don't understand powerlifting or understand the mindset of why somebody wants to be a powerlifter, well, then that's fine. You're just maybe not the best person to help them. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just like I might not be the best person to help certain people that have their own ways of going about their training or their lifestyle. but we need to evaluate, and we need to understand where people are going. I think we have a good idea here of how sometimes the solutions are just staring right at you, it was. I hope this fellow is able to follow through with what we're describing. So check out Sage Spot. We got some really good stuff on there. There'll probably be some case studies that come up before the powerlifting piece. But always when we talk about training, all the ideas and protocols, there'll be an elite performer program, not necessarily directly for a powerlifter, because we have other people that are going to be handling the program. We're coming at this more from a movement perspective of getting joints in the right positions, absorb adaptive stress. As long as you take that approach, you can apply some of the more work capacity based approaches that we talk about in EPP. And that will be a part of what I recommended here. Anytime somebody's trying to change their movement, increase movement variability, oxidative function is going to be crucial. It's going to be very, very challenging to change motor strategies without high levels of oxidative environment. So we're gonna look at that real hard in EPP, that I think you'll find is coming out soon. Hope that makes sense, and keep an eye out for that leprechaun. Audio Jungle.